Well, one of the things our dad has talked about for years is, boy, it would be so nice if we had a corn furnace and we could use corn to dry the corn we have on our farm.
Oh, you get into harvest, you start thinking about all these things, and one of the things that really stands out is the fuel prices and how high things are getting.
What?
And it's
no,
not so
cheap.
much
Fuel's
about
cheap.
It's not so much about the fuel you're going to use in the field today that we're focusing on. We're focusing on the fuel that it takes to dry grain. And you know, this year across the country, there are all kinds of guys, and you may be included, that got in late. And when you think about it, if we're in late, we're either going to harvest really, really late and hope for a really late frost date, or we're going to harvest on time and the corn's going to be a little bit wetter.
Well, even if we harvest late, the corn's still going to be wet this fall. There's no way around it. We didn't have enough heat this spring. Everything was late planted, I mean, for the most part. So we're going to have wet corn this fall. That's just the way it is. Here's the whole thing. Let's get right to the meat of this. If you look at the BTUs that we can produce out of a bushel of corn versus the BTUs that we can produce out of LP, which is primarily what people are using, propane, there's a lot of difference there in terms of what the cost is for LP and the cost for corn. Let me just say this, when we started talking about $5 corn here over the last year, everybody said, oh boy, that corn furnace you got, you aren't going to want to use that anymore. You can't burn $5 corn. And I said, yes, I can, because if you look at LP and say 1 gallon of LP times 5.5, you know, that costs, let's say $2 for my LP, that's $11 that I am basically getting for my bushel of corn. So what I'm saying is 5.5 gallons of LP equals 1 bushel of corn in terms of BTUs. So I'm effectively getting $11 for my corn right now. I'll take that.
Now, you may not think that's a huge deal because there's a difference there, but boy, is it really enough to worry about this and invest money in more equipment to be able to use corn as my drying source? Absolutely it is, because think about that corn dryer. How often are you running it? You aren't just running it for an hour here or there. You're going to run it all day. You're going to run it all night. You're going to run it maybe for several weeks, depending on the size of your farm. And by the time you're doing this, in 1 month's time, you could save $50,000. Yes, $50,000.
Well, yeah, but let's talk on our farm. We won't save quite that much, because on our farm the last few years, and we don't farm big acres or anything. We only have 2,400 acres. We'll have roughly 1,500 acres of corn on average every year. And in the last 5 years, we've averaged using about 20,000 gallons of propane. Okay, well, if you take 20,000 times the price we can get it by the semi-load this year of $2, that's $40,000. And what I'm saying is we can basically save half of that, or a little bit more. We'll save, I calculate, approximately $22,000 if we used corn to do the whole job. But we're not going to use corn to do the whole job, because here's the thing, there is still no corn dryer that can do everything. We've got 2 continuous flow grain dryers in our farm that have been running off LP. What we're going to do is we're going to set up this corn furnace that basically becomes a preheater. So it's going to warm the air that's going into one of the grain dryers. And I figure on our farm each year, because of having this corn furnace, we're probably going to save ourselves at least $10,000 a year. And you know what? I haven't seen fuel prices going down lately. They seem to keep going up, up, up. So I'm hopeful that 10,000 becomes 12, becomes 14 and more. And the other thing, don't forget, yields are increasing too. So we're going to use more drying fuel in the future, not less. We're going to use more just because our yields get higher.
There are a lot of things when we get to harvest time that you really can't control. So why not take control of some of the things that you can? And using corn as an option for drying your grain in the fall is a really good deal. And you say, well, wait a minute now. I don't know if I want to use corn. Maybe I can use some other things around the farm. And actually, yes, this dryer could be used as a solid biomass fuel burner. So you could use soybeans, or you could use wheat or wood pellets, you know, some different kinds of coal, this kind of things. There's all kinds of stuff you may have around the farm that could potentially be used as a source. You just need to do a little checking to make sure that that's going to flow through the machine and work just as well.
Yep, here's one other thing too. You may be able to get a government grant to help buy this furnace and get it all set up for you. We've been talking to the rural development people, and there actually is a fair amount of money out there for renewable fuel sources. And if you can replace propane by burning corn, which is a renewable fuel source, and the thing really isn't that expensive to begin with either. We're dealing with a company called Year Around out of Mankato, Minnesota. That's the only company we've found so far that makes this type of corn furnace that's a preheater for our grain dryer, and we're just really excited about it.
Yep, and when you think about it, we could dry all the grain from our farm with taking just a few of the bushels off each acre to do the drying. So it's not a huge deal, yet it could be a big cost savings for us versus buying LP.
Yeah, if we can save $10,000, $12,000 a year on our farm and we don't farm lots of acres, that's a huge thing. So we'll have the corn furnace paid off very quickly, and then it's all great after that. And I guess I'm too concerned that at some point the corn price may go back down to $3, and I'm also concerned that propane price is going to continue to rise in time, and who knows, 10 years from now, we might be saving $50,000 a year by having that on our farm.
Well, the economics work pretty well when you figure that 1 bushel of corn is worth about 5.5 gallons of LP gas. It's a big cost savings for your farm, and with all that money that you're saving, you can do an even better job controlling tough weeds like our Weed of the Week. We'll explain coming up later in the show.